Okay, hello there, I'm Dennis. Welcome. And in this video, we're going to install and look at FreeBSD. FreeBSD stands for the Berkeley Software Distribution, and I will include this link either in the description or as a title. We're going to install FreeBSD, so we'll come back to that. I have FreeBSD set up in my VirtualBox, and I was not able to enable the EFI. It would lock me in a shell script with no way to get out of it, or at least no way that I knew, and it was just easier to set it up in Legacy. I'm going to install the auto-guided install, and it wouldn't matter. So let me get started here. I'll give it 6 gigs of RAM, I'll give it 6 gigabytes of RAM, 2 cores of my processor. I did not enable the EFI, and I gave it a 62 gigabyte hard drive. When you boot into it, you don't really have to do anything. Let me see if I can make that a little bigger. Minimize this, get it out of the picture. Let's see, I'm going to undo that. Sorry for this. I'm going to go Control C and let that go in scaled size. Let's see what that does. Uh-oh, got my mouse. There we go. The first screen you'll be booted up to is rather plain, looking like you're fixing to boot into Windows 98 or something, or Windows XP. I like this. So first option is going to be install. I'm going to press enter. Now here we're going to set up our keyboard right away. It defaults to the US keyboard. If yours is anything different, scroll down until you find it and use your space bar to select it. So I'm going to press enter. Now we're going to need a host name. It should be something unique, especially if you're going to be connecting it to other machines. All right, say OK. Now here, I'm going to undo the kernel debug because I'm in a VirtualBox, but I am going to leave the library 32-bit libraries enabled. I'm going to select ports and SRC, and I'm going to hit OK. Now here's where I was talking about partitioning the disk. I'm going to use auto ZFS or ZFS guided root on ZFS. So when I press enter, it's going to look for a hard drive. And you can see what it wants to do. It wants to give me a 2 gigabyte swap. And I'm going to scroll down to there and press enter. And I'm going to change that to 12, I'm sorry. Because I allocated 12 gigabytes for a swap space. 6 gigabytes of RAM, 12 gigabytes of swap space. When you make your selection here, press OK. All right. Now, if you go up to disk info, it's going to use GPart. You'll have to select your disk. And it'll tell you here, the most important thing here is up at the top. It says ADA0. So I'm going to say OK and arrow to back, press enter. All right, I'm ready. I decided not to encrypt. I'm not going to mirror swap. We're going to leave the partitioning scheme just the way it left it as default, GPT parentheses BIOS. I'm going to hit enter. All right, and I'm going to use the stripe no redundancy option here. I don't have more than one hard drive, and I'm not using it in a RAID. And so I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to use the space bar and select my hard drive. Now if you was on a real hard drive and you had more than one storage device plugged in, like for instance the USB, if you're booting to a USB, it may show up here. Either way, you make sure you select what we found earlier, in this case was ADA0. I selected that with the space bar. I'm going to hit enter for OK. Now it's asking me, am I sure I want to wipe this out because it's going to destroy all the contents on disk ADA0. So I'm going to say yes. And here we go. The installation is underway. So this is going to take a minute. Let's take advantage of that and go back over here to their web page. This is freebsd.org. And there's a lot of reading on here. I gotta admit, the documentation is just phenomenal. I thought the Arch Wiki was phenomenal. Well, this is phenomenal minus a 1 or something. Very good. So anyway, when you do come here, the easiest way to get it is to click on download link here. It tells you about choosing an image and the architecture. And the first one here, FreeBSD 13.0, that's the one just released. That's the one I got. And instead of the virtual machine image, I got the AMD 64. And I actually installed this on a Dell Optiplex 790. 16 gigabytes of RAM, 4-core processor, but it has no hard drive in it. And, you know, it's just my test machine. And that's what I installed it on. But you don't have to do that. You can go back and get another release from the past. Installer images. Okay. The documentation, if you just click on the handbook, you can see there is just a lot of information, and most of it's pretty good information, easily understood by if you just understand the Unix system a little bit. Now I'm out of my league, but I'm trying to learn a little bit. And I finally found an install method that would work. Let me go back to their homepage here. And that's why we're doing this. So let me go back. Let's see where we're at here. The next prompt is going to be the password for the root. And I'm going to type in a password, and I'll be asked to repeat it. And I'm going to say, okay. Now, it's asking me about the internet. Now, when I set this up on my Optiplex, I didn't have to, but I plugged a USB dongle with the Ethernet on it, and that's how I actually worked. But right here, it showed up. I could have used it, but I don't. As you see, I'm in a virtual box. We don't have anything. It's EM0. I'm going to say okay. It's going to ask me, would I like to configure IPv4? And I'm going to say yes. And would I like to use DHCP? I'm going to say yes. It's going to look for it and inquire an address. And then I'm going to say no, because I don't want to set up IPv6. And here I'm going to tab down to OK and say OK. Now we're going to select a region. America, both north and south for me. And way down at the bottom, I think here, yep, United States of America. Now a time zone. And I'm going to select central in most areas. Say OK. Does that look familiar? CDT, Central Daylight Time, yes. I'm going to skip it's right anyway. I'm going to skip it. I'm going to skip the time. All right, now choose the services that I want to start up at boot. So I'm going to leave SSHD enabled. Mouse D, I'm going to enable. NT update, I'm going to enable. And NTPD, I'm going to enable. And I'm going to leave that dump for the kernel if it crashes, and say OK. Now here, if you're setting it up on real hardware, my machine that I installed on, I disabled the send mail service because it'll never do that. But you could get real tedious here and do a lot of really good security options. But I'm going to just say OK and leave them all blank. Would I like to add a user? Of course. Thank you. All right, and I'm going to say Dennis. Press enter. Now it wants a full name. And a full name can contain periods, dots, capitals, whatever. Full name Dennis. We're going to leave it empty for the default user ID. Login group. Now, very important. We hit enter. Got to spell it right. All right. Wheel is going to be the first one. All right. Now it's asking me, do I want to invite my Dennis to another group? And I'm going to say yes. And go ahead and put video in there. All right. Login class default. That's good. Shell is SH, that's good. Home directory is home Dennis, that's good. We'll leave the permissions as default. User password authentication. And you could actually turn that off here. I'm going to say yes, do it. Use an empty password, the default is no, hit enter. Use a random password, the default is no, hit enter. Now password for Dennis. Going to be asked to repeat that, say OK. Do I want to lock out the account? I know the default is no, but I'm going to type in no anyway. And here it's giving you a summary of what we're going to do. The username is Dennis. He's got a password. Full name is capital Dennis. The user ID is 1001. Groups is wheel and video. He's got a folder called home Dennis. Okay, and I'm going to type in yes, even though you could just hit a Y. Add another user. I'm going to say N for no. All right, now at this point we're ready to exit the installation, but I highly recommend that you go ahead and use this right here and download the handbook so it's there whether you're online or not. In this case, I'm not, for just the sake of time, and I'm going to say exit. Now, it's going to ask me, do I want to, before I exit the installer, would I like to open the shell and make any changes manually? And I'm going to say no. And then it's going to ask me to reboot. And this is going to be a little tricky here. There's no option just to shut down. Bring this on up. And as soon as it starts up, I'm going to stop it. Power off the machine. And in normal cases, you just remove your USB. I'll remove attachment. Okay. All right, so this is a good sign. It says boot and drive is C, so that means we're in legacy mode. Now you could select one of these, but we're going to boot into our multi-user. That's the default. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter instead of waiting that final 1 second. If you wanted to pause that, though, you just hit one of those numbers or arrow down, I think. But actually, I'm looking for a way to speed that up. I hadn't got that far yet, but I'm working on it. So when this does boot up, we've got a few more questions. We're going to log in as root and give it my password. All right, to change this login announcement. Now the base system is installed. Now we need to update the system just to make sure. To do it all at once, we can go FreeBSD -update and then space, fetch, and install. Now if there's any updates, it'll go ahead and install them. All right, so there is nothing there, so I'm going to Control L to clear the screen. We need some packages because I'm going to install Xfce on this thing. In order to install packages, you go pkg install and list your packages. So the first one is going to be Xorg. Now you could do these one at a time. I prefer to do them at least these first few right now and get them out of the way. Xfce or Xorg, and then instead of SDDM or Slim, I'm going to get Light DM, and also going to get Light DM-GTK greeter, and also the settings, GTK greeter settings. Now I'm going to need Xfce, a program called DRM-Kmod. This is a program that will allow us to modify the kernel, which is going to allow us to start in graphical mode. So let's see here. I got Xorg, LightDM greeter, the settings, Xfce, and DRMD. That's it. Do I want to install the installer? Please. The package management tool is not yet installed. Would I like to do that? Yes, please. Now it's installed that package manager, and we're going to be prompted to, do we want to install that? And we're going to say yes. And as you can see, hopefully there's 349 packages to download, so this will take a minute. I'll pause the video. It's got did have my mouse. And I'll be back when it gets finished. I'm going to come back a little early here. It's over halfway. Let's go back over to their web page and look a second here. Like I said, it's got an awful lot of good, pertinent information, but it's very, very simple. There's nothing complicated about it. It's all right here. Any links or have the links there. Any important links are there where you can click on them. The supported releases, 13.0, tells you all about them. even have office hours so you could call somebody if you needed to. Under documentation, you got the handbook. Like I said, it's just phenomenal. You know, you're going to have to, if you've decided like me to try to run a little BSD, this is going to be an invaluable website right here. This link will be in the documentation or the description below. But the Berkeley Software Distribution, which all that is based on, is just another phenomenal read, especially for an older guy like me that was alive when all this stuff was happening. In fact, I was already a grown young man. And, you know, it says it's a discontinued operating system based on Research Unix. Let's see what the little pop-up refers to. Early versions of the Unix operating systems for December or DEC PDP-7, etc. Interdata computers developed in the Bell Labs Computing Science Research Center. Bell Labs, wow. Developed and distributed by the Computer Research Group, CSRG, at the University of California, Berkeley. The term BSD is commonly refers to its descendants, including FreeBSD, OpenBSD, NetBSD, and Dragonfly BSD. I mean, just because people hadn't heard of them, these guys are huge. If you look at their list, somewhere I found a list of the people that they serve, the people that use BSD to serve. One of them, the biggest name I saw was Netflix, but I'm sure that's not the biggest name. Just awesome. We're still fetching 342 out of 349. So it's almost to the installation. It'll take a while to download all this, but once it starts doing the actual install, it'll fly through it pretty quick. Back to their web page here. Press. I mean, there's just all kind of read. The journal, documentation. Where did I see that? Presentation, project, about, introduction, features, marketing, FreeBSD. I saw it somewhere. Mailing list, forums, user groups, events, journal, developer. That's aggravating when you know you saw something. There's a list of all the people that use FreeBSD. And I'll just have to find it and include it in a link because I can't seem to locate it right now. Let's see where we're at on our installer. Yep, we're extracting. See, it's flying now. So this will be through in just a little bit here. I've heard BSD or FreeBSD compared to Arch Linux, and well, that's a vague comparison. Sure, it doesn't come with anything. You have to do the base install and then your desktop and all that, but that's about where the differences stop. I mean, just to enable a service is, a little process. Whereas in Arch, it's systemctl enable blah blah blah. Or if it's a different init system, it might be, or it will be different, but not much. Font cursors, all kind of fonts. That's another difference I can say. If I install Arch, in order to get a desktop with a volume icon or a network manager applet, then I have to include those in my download, or I have to fetch them or install them. Here, they changed the name from network manager, spelled completely out, to network MGR. And then there is no applet. When you install that, you will see an applet there. So it includes it in the package. Sound, same way. There we go. Now, let's see what it says. The DRM port can be enabled from AMGPD starting. It's referring to that DRM. All right. members of the video group. So I'm going to Control L to clear that screen. Now our next step. Now we're going to have to edit some files here. So that's what I forgot to do. PKG install nano. That was supposed to be on my first install. Vi is installed by default, and there's another one that's installed by default, which you get to it by using EE. But I'm used to nano, and it's available, so that's what I'm going to use. First one is nano Xfce /rc.conf. And we're going to go in here, and we'll make a line all the way across there, so that I know where the stuff is I add. So the first thing is we're going to dbus _ enable equals double quotes capital YES in quotes DB, not DBU, dbus. I left the S out while you check, right? Dbus enable, and then we're going to enable this service, hauled, and I'll have a description in here what hauled is. Enable equals double quotes capital yes quotes. Next one is light DM _ enable equals double quotes capital yes in double quotes. And then here's one more to add to this package. KLD _ LIST equals I915 KMS. Make sure that's right. KMS. And I forgot the double quotes. Double quotes is before the I and after the S. And enter. Now let's see. That's all. So this is nano. Control O to get out of here. Enter to confirm, or to write it out. Enter to confirm. Exit to leave. So I'm going to Control L to get out of here. We got to make another couple changes here. So we're going nano into X init RC. And in here we're going to add this exec start Xfce4. Make sure that's right. Exec start Xfce4. Nano Control O to write it out. Enter to confirm. Control X get out of here. Control L will clear the screen. Now we got to modify our kernel, and we do that in nano space /boot /loader.conf and hit enter. Now this is very important. I'm going to hit enter at the top, create a space there, and put this entry in the top. KERN period VTY equals VT. Verify. KERN period VTY equals VT. Now again, we're in nano, so I'm going to Control O to write it out. Enter to confirm. Control X, get out of here. Control L. Now, everything's ready. We're going to reboot. But you could go ahead and when I do my Arch installs, I go ahead at this point right now and install everything I'm going to need that I can install at that point. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and reboot. But there's a lot of stuff that's not in here. And I'll have, let's see, get my mouse back. Thank you. I have a full list of utilities and stuff that I've been able to install that I normally install in a Linux system, an Arch system. I'll include that, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna install those. But let's go ahead and we're gonna reboot. So we're in root, and just reboot. I seen where you can also type in the command init space 6, init 6. And that's the initializing program to reboot it, I guess. I haven't got that far. I'm still learning. Boot drive C is disk 0. That's great. Here we got 10 seconds to make up our mind, but I went ahead and hit enter because I'm looking for LLaPrd. First, I'm looking for my mouse, and find my mouse and make sure it's in there. There it is. All right. I don't have to do that, but I like doing that. That way, when I see my mouse, I know the LLaPrd is fixing the greeters. Setting the date. Log in. There we go. Do my password. And there we go. There's a beautiful Xfce desktop. Let me we'll control C to get out of that. Well, maybe I will. There we go. Let's see, you go. There's watch how little applications are in here. No web browser settings. We got settings, accessories, system, no internet, no games, nothing. So very, very limited. That's what you want, right? Let's see what we can do on her. We don't have a lot of options. I'll just leave it at that for now. Get my mouse back so I can resize the screen. Could probably do this. Let's try it and see. I think that's got it all. Let's a little more. One thing you're going to find out is sudo is not installed. So if you wanted to do an update or install anything, let's say FreeBSD -update fetch install. Now, if there's any updates, it will fetch them and install them. But the word sudo is not found. So in order to do the update right away, you're going to have to sign in as su or sudo like this. But there's a way to get out of this, and we're going to do that real quick. So we're going to say, we're going to sign back in as su, and remember to include the dash. That is important. All right, now I'm going to say pkg install sudo. Specify yes or confirm. And now we have sudo. But it's limited. So let's get out of root. Control L to clear the screen. Now let's try sudo. Let's see. FreeBSD -update space fetch install. Now let's see what happens. There we go. But Dennis is not a member of the sudo's file, so Dennis don't have those rights. Sudo is installed, but he can't do that. A couple ways we can do this. We can just type in, let's see, let me go into su first and go password. Now I'll just type in by sudo, hit enter. And trust me, I know little about vi, so this might be difficult here. This is where you're going to have to go to change it. So if you know how to manipulate vi, let's see if I do this right. I think I hit I and then backspace. Nope. Go here. Go I and delete. Nope. Nope. Yep, there we go. Now, to get out of here, press escape. I think colon, right, W and Q, and hit enter. And there we go. So now we can control L to clear the screen, control D to log out as root, bring up another terminal. And now let's see if we can say sudo FreeBSD -update fetch install. Now let's see what happens. Gotta be able to spell. Date. Now hit install. And there's nothing to do. You see, you got a lot of work cut out for you. You cannot plug in a USB drive into your system at this point until you get some utilities for that. You don't have anything. You don't have a web browser. You don't have any games, no internet. I just said that, I think. The only thing you got is Xfce with no extras. You don't even have a volume icon or a network icon. So you have to install those things. Now for the network, let's see, sudo pkg install network mgr. And I don't have that installed, so I'm going to go ahead and install it. Say yes. Notice I was able to run sudo. Let me clear that out. Sudo pkg install GVFS, GV file system, USB utils. In Arch it would be NTFS-3G, but here it's Fuse, F-U-S-E, file system hyphen NTFS, and the LIB NTFS libfs. Yep, sorry. libfs NTFS. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and install those, and I forgot to do the Y again. When this gets through here, we should be able to plug in a USB drive and it get mounted. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this terminal, and I'm going to tell it to reboot, which is not available there, but it will be here. Let's restart and see if we got a network applet and a volume icon, and we should be able to plug in a USB device. Okay, so far so good. I'll hit enter instead of waiting 10 seconds, which I'm going to modify that on my system. I'll post something about it once I make some more accomplishments, I'll figure those out and share them as well. I'm going to remember my resolution. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, right off the bat, you see we got a network icon. We got wait, for the volume icon. I forgot. Sudo pkg -y install -y, and we need the Xfce4 hyphen pulse audio plugin, because that's where the alright, now we can go find it. Go to the panel, add new items. We're going to do a search for volume pulse audio plugin. We're going to say add. Thank you. Now close. And we're going to right click on it and say move. Grab it, move it over here next to the date or something somewhere. And we got volume. Isn't that sweet? Nice. Now this is pretty much a basic Xfce desktop. You can plug in a USB and copy files. Should be able to. You're gonna have to install everything that you want, like Firefox or system monitor. There'll be a few things that's not in here, like GNOME disk utility. I'm having to find a workaround on that. But other than that, I mean, this is just what you want in an Arch vanilla install right here. This is it. Let's see. I wonder df-h. Let's go th. See what it shows here. You can see we got a completely different setup than we do in Linux. Just busted all that in the var, home, audit, mail. And let's see. H-top come by default? No, but I bet top does. There we go. 67 processes, 2 running. CPU is hardly anything. Memory is 238 megabytes. And we do have a swap right here. Have 12 gigs, which I allocated during the install. So we're good to go. We are good to go. Like I said, you can install most everything. I haven't found but just a few things that I haven't been able to install. And a couple of them I found workarounds. Or actually I found where they were just named something differently, like Network Manager became Network MGR. Just little simple things. So I appreciate you watching. That's going to do this video on BSD. Try this method, see if it works for you. If it does, let me know. And if it don't, you're going to have to watch another video or do your own research. The answer to how I made it work was not by video. It was through videos and getting understanding and then doing the research online and looking at their handbook and, putting it together that way. Once I found that combination that worked for me, that was it. I installed it on my machine. I got Xfce desktop on it. And 90% of the programs that I have on any one of my other working machines is on there already. And the other ones, it's just because I hadn't got a workaround yet. Some of the games is not there available, but they're probably just named differently. Also, if you're looking for a graphical package manager, good luck. Let me know. Because I looked and so far I hadn't really seen anything. That's going to do this video. Let me shut this VM down. And I hope you enjoy FreeBSD. And I hope you install it. It seems to work. The resources was just phenomenal. 200 something megs. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. Even on a fresh install boot of Arch with nothing installed, I've never seen it quite that low. Close this out. Go back over to here. This is freebsd.org. Download it. Pick your image. I did the 64-bit, and I selected the biggest ISO they had here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a good day. Pause the video, make a list right here, because this is all the stuff I know works so far. Y'all have a good one. Talk to you on the next video. Peace out. Bye.